Hello everyone, welcome back. This is week 8. This is part 1, but this week we will only have 3 videos because Monday the 25th, I don't know when you're watching this, but Monday, May 25th is Memorial Day. And so if we were having classes in person, we would have no class on Memorial Day because it's a holiday. So this week we only have 3 videos. So this is part 1. Before we get started, let's go ahead and do our breathing. Okay, so here we go. Get your feet flat on the floor. Get your arms and shoulders loose, and if you're comfortable, you can close your eyes and take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth. Let's do 2 more of those. Ready? One more. Okay. Now we are calm, we are focused, and we are ready to begin English. So we are in Unit 9 on Lesson D. But before you open your books, let's look at this. What do you think this means? It says, all things are connected. I'll give you a hint. This is actually the title of the reading that we will be doing today. So, what do you think this title means? Okay, and then how do you think it will relate to the environment? If you remember from last week, the theme of our lessons was about the environment and the planet and how to better take care of the planet through recycling and using less electricity, decreasing pollution, all of those things. So all things are connected. Okay, I'm not going to answer the questions for you, just think about it. And now let's open our books to page 116. So you'll see at the top of the page the question, 2 questions before you read. Question number 1 says, what is a fable? What is a fable? Do you know? Without Googling, a fable is a short story that typically uses animals as the characters, and usually the point of the story, or the main reason that the story is being told is to convey a moral, to give, some kind of lesson. So think of these as like fun, silly stories that you tell children. Maybe you tell children to help them learn something. So one example that I thought of for a fable that we use, that we hear in America a lot, is the tortoise and the hare. Tortoise is like a turtle, but like a really big turtle. And usually they live for many, many, many years. And so they're very big, and they're very old, and they're very slow moving. And then when we talk about hare, I'm just going to write this on the board. So the tortoise is like a big old turtle, And hare is another term for rabbit. I don't know actually if a hare is different from a typical rabbit. But the idea with a hare is that they are found in the wild and they are very fast. So the story goes that, you know, there was once a tortoise and a hare, and for some reason they end up in a race, and they try to see who can win this race. And the hare says, "Oh, no problem. I'm so fast. I can do it. No problem." And he goes really fast, and he ends up having lots of obstacles along the way, or he gets distracted thinking, oh, he's so confident that he's going to win because he's so fast, and the tortoise is so slow. And the tortoise just goes slow and steady, keep going, little by little, but very steady. But the hare goes really fast, and then he gets tired, really fast, and then he gets tired, and the tortoise ends up winning the race. And so the moral, the lesson that is trying to be taught in that story is that slow and steady wins the race. I'm going to write that on the board too. So that means if you work hard consistently and you take your time and do it well, little by little, you will go further than if you do a whole lot and you go really big, really fast, and then you get tired and you can't continue going at the pace that you're going. So that's the moral of the story. And that's what a fable is. That's an example of a fable, okay? So the second question on page 116 says, do you know of any fables or folk tales from your native country? So here I would love if you would, in the WhatsApp group, if you would share with us what are some fables or folk tales from your native country. I would love to hear about them. Okay, so now let's go ahead and read the story. I will read and you will listen. And of course, as always, if there are any words that you are unfamiliar with, you can underline them and we will talk about them afterwards, or you can email me and ask me questions. But let's listen to the story now, okay? All things are connected. Long ago, there was a village chief who never allowed anyone to disagree with him. Whenever he wanted to do something, he asked the members of his court for their advice. But whether the chief's idea was wise or foolish, his advisors always said the same thing. Indeed, it is wise. Only one old woman dared to give a different answer. Whenever the chief asked for her advice, she always replied, all things are connected. One night, the chief was awakened by the sound of frogs croaking in the swamp. It happened again the next night, and the next, and the next. The chief decided to kill all the frogs in the swamp. When he consulted the members of his court, they replied as usual, "Indeed, it is wise." But the old woman kept silent. "And you, old woman, what do you think?" the chief demanded. "All things are connected," she replied. The chief concluded that the old woman was a fool, and he ordered his servants to kill all the frogs. Therefore, the chief slept peacefully. But soon, the mosquitoes in the swamp began to multiply since there were no frogs to eat them. They came into the village and made everyone miserable. The chief ordered his servants to go into the swamp and kill the mosquitoes, but it was impossible. Furious, the chief summoned the members of his court and blamed them, saying, "Why didn't you tell me that killing the frogs would make the mosquitoes multiply and everyone would be miserable? I should have listened to the old woman." Because the mosquitoes were there, all the people of the village were forced to go away. Finally, the chief and his family left too. Until he died, the chief never forgot the old woman's words. All things are connected. Okay, wow. What a great story, huh? So, let's talk about some of the words here. Maybe I'm thinking of words that you may not be familiar with. So, chief, swamp, wise, and foolish. And there was one more that I thought of as we were reading. What was that? The members of his court. So, first of all, chief is like the kind of like the leader of maybe a more native indigenous tribe. They would have a chief instead of a mayor. That would just be the title of the leader of a group of people. So chief. Swamp is kind of like a pond, a body of water that is muddy and has lots of plants, and maybe it's shallow, maybe it's not, but usually lots of wildlife, frogs, mosquitoes, bugs live in a swamp. The members of his court, so court here is different than court how we use it in America. Normally we say court to mean the place you go to see a judge, and you have lawyers and you have to go defend yourself. This is not that kind of court. Court here means a group of people who are designated. They are assigned to be people who give advice to the chief. Okay, so they are maybe the people who are considered wise. Wise, if you don't know, you probably do, but if you don't, wise means smart, but more than smart. Wise means like you have a good judgment about life. You understand the ways of life. You are good at making decisions that have a long-term benefit. And foolish is just the opposite of wise, okay? All right. So that's enough of that. If you need to, go back and listen again. You can either rewind the video and hear me read it again, or you can scan the QR code and listen to the recording. Okay? So let's read the tip box. Before we do the questions on the next page, let's read the tip box right here. The red. It says, ask yourself questions when you read to identify a cause and effect relationship. To find an effect, ask what happened. To find a cause, ask why did it happen? Okay? I'm going to write that on the board. Okay? So that's important to know. Now let's look at the questions here on page 117. So I will read the questions, and then depending on time, we will go over the answers, okay? So number 1, what is the overall meaning or moral of this fable? Number 2, what was the chief's main problem? Number 3, when the chief wanted advice, what did almost all his advisors say? Why did they say that? Number 4, why did the chief assume the old woman was a fool? Number 5, what 2 things were connected in this fable? Number 6, in paragraph 2, what does croaking mean? What words provide clues to the meaning? Number 7, read the last paragraph. Do you think the chief understood the old woman's words? Why or why not? Okay. I think I will let this be your homework. So your homework is to answer these questions and take a picture and send it to me. And then bonus homework is to do the vocabulary exercise on page 117. Okay? So you will find the parts of speech and then an antonym. Now read the blue box that says useful language to find out more about what is an antonym. Okay? All right. Happy studying. See you later.